record this meeting. Okay, it's now being recorded. So welcome everybody to the December monthly call for the Disaster Lifecycle Cluster. I'm Dave Jones, and I'll be hosting the meeting today. Karen Moe will be dialing in to listen, and we have others that have joined. I think that the main thing that we'd like to accomplish today, since the winter meeting is in January, and we have a session, a breakout session on operational readiness levels at the meeting. So I wanted to use this time to talk with everybody so we could formulate an agenda for the meeting. And what I'm going to do is close 99% of my windows that I've opened here. And kind of share my screen so everybody can see the screen here. Okay, so can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I now have the this draft agenda up, which is let me just maximize it here for the January 11th breakout. I don't have the exact time for the breakout. We'll have to distribute that to everybody, and it might be in the evolving agenda, but we have 90 minutes, and it's going to follow it's going to precede 3 of the All Hazard Consortium sessions. Steve White from FEMA, who works with FEMA Logistics, will be at our session, and he's trying to bring some other FEMA senior leadership folks, which is going to be great for the Federation and great for us, so they can see the work we've been doing on defining operational readiness levels. And we've had one telecon that Carrie Hicks has led from Duke on making sure that we get in additional information regarding operational readiness levels, because we've just started to define ORL 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so we've made some good progress on that front. And so I think that part of this presentation and part of this discussion should be, what the current status is. This is all draft, guys, too. So if you say, hey, I'd like to, enter something in here, we can make those modifications real time on this call. That's what this is for. But based on our previous discussions, what we had said is key areas to address was the current status of ORLs. Raphael Deamier and Carrie Hicks can lead that presentation. I, unfortunately, will not be there in person. I will be at AMS down in Austin, Texas, because I'm co-chairing the 6th Weather Ready Nation Symposium, and that's 4 days long as part of the AMS annual meeting. So I'm going to try my hardest to be online with this session, so I can chime in anything or just see how the discussion goes and all that stuff. But it looks like was that Bob? Is that Bob calling in?
Yeah, I just joined.
Hey Bob, how are you? We just sort of started the call. We were giving everybody a chance to dial in because there wasn't a new announcement sent about the call. That's my fault. I just thought it was in everybody's calendar to call in.
Yeah, Bob Downs reminded me. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I know this Disaster Lifecycle Cluster telecon is at the top of everybody's agenda when you come in every day, which is awesome. So we are recording, Bob. So you can go back and listen to anything in the beginning. I was just starting to talk about what's on the screen here, and that's to define the agenda for our 90-minute breakout session to talk about ORLs. So if the first presentation, and I'm thinking that, you know, each one is maybe 10 minutes here, we can adjust the time as topics get added or taken away. But the current status of the ORLs, what's developed since the last meeting, what has happened with the SICE working group, and how are we using these ORL definitions to put into operations almost already within the SICE working group. Carrie can talk about the ORL vetting process and how she is looking forward to using the ORL process as it's being developed. This is already a success within our group. How she's expecting to use the ORL process within Duke Energy, so they can start to set a standard for the type of data sets that they're going to be using operationally, and then assigning ORL levels to it. So this is pretty exciting in its own part. And then, you know, how's the work we're doing in the disaster lifecycle cluster leading to its use within the SICE, the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment work group of the Fleet Response Working Group, and the overall SICE vision. Tom Moran from the All Hazards Consortium can give that update for 10 minutes. And then what I thought, and Karen thought was really important as well, and we've talked about this in the past, about any ORL examples in the ESIP community. So Maggie, we were thinking about your work with California and the earthquake clearinghouse and all that stuff. And you know, it doesn't have to be really detailed, but you know, some of the data sets that you used in your exercises are really not just cool, but useful. And you know, taking our approach of ORLs right now, how would you classify those data sets, you know, as ORL levels? And as you go through looking at those data sets and assigning ORL levels to them, if you're having trouble assigning ORL levels to them, what are the questions that you would like answered to further clarify what kind of ORL level they should be? That seems like it might be really useful. Is that something that I know you won't be at the meeting, but you'll be able to maybe present remotely? Is that something that interests you?
Sure. Yeah, that would be fine.
Because you know, you have experience in using these data sets in your exercises already, and so as we start to mature the ORL model, you know, what are your thoughts? You know, they might not be the final ORL levels that you do assign to them, but it could be a good exercise.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've got a lot of experience working with these data sets, and I think that it would be really cool to map, you know, what your guys are doing with the ORLs to what we've been doing, you know, over with our exercises. So I think that it would be really good to compare. Right.
Yeah. No, I think so too. All right. That's good. So we seem to be on the right track. And Bob, you know, Karen was thinking also that you could do the same with some of the data sets you have that you would think would be you know, valuable to the disaster lifecycle cluster and to the SICE working group. You know, so data sets that you have available. I mean, you don't have to address them all, but sort of take a subset of them and say, hey, here's, you know, 5, 6, 7 data sets we think could be very useful to the decision-making process. As you know, utilities look to respond into disaster areas, and you know, any other type of use cases that you can think about where the data could be applicable. It'd be great to hear from you and, you know, the folks at CESN and CDAC, you know, what it'll also introduce us to other data sets that you guys have available. Does that sound okay?
Sure, yeah. I'll have to take a look at the ORLs again, of course. Yeah, I could use those as like a rubric to go through some of the data that we have at CDAC, and also in terms of use cases. So these would be use cases during different different timing, different times when, like either pre-disaster or during or post.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I think, if you look at your screen, let me just pull up.
Yeah.
I was doing some. Well, first I have the ORL levels here, and we can, distribute that to everybody as well. And the breakout sessions or the subcommittee meetings that Carrie is running and Raphael's been participating in as well, will further define these ORL levels, like the descriptions you see in the text boxes will get more detailed as feedback comes. But this is an evolutionary process. So we're really looking at these right now and saying, okay, if we go by this standard, we have some data sets that you might say, hey, most of our data sets fall into the ORL 1 level because CDAC is ready to go at any time to acquire data. Now, maybe if we take the point of the dashboard and accessing the data in the real-time way that we've done it, let me bring up, I'll bring up, this is just one example of GeoCollaborate here. If I, and this is the Pacific Northwest, but let me go down to California where the fires are happening right now.
Oh yeah.
Some data sets. So if we go down, like where the circle is the Thomas fire, which is pretty darn big and impacting a lot of people.
Yes, really.
If I zoom into that, then one of the use cases could be using the population tool, right? So if we go in here now and then maybe there's the burn area in black. It's gone all the way to the coastline, and if we do the population tool, and we select the freehand polygon, and I want to look in this area where the burn scar is and outline it like this. It's going right to CDAC right now, live, and we'll pull out the population, and here it is. 28,940 in this one area where this one fire is, with a 478 square mile area. So this kind of use case, I would like to get people excited about the connection that we're making to a live data set that's at a DAC, right? And then maybe we'll generate the discussion, particularly with FEMA and other agencies in the room. That'll generate a discussion for what other types of data can we pull like this, so we can start increasing the awareness of not only the data holdings that CDAC has, but how can those data holdings be accessed in an easy way that you don't really need a lot of training for. So that kind of use case, and maybe you expand upon that, Bob, by saying, okay, now you just saw population, but we can go in and pull out people who are elderly without transportation, or people that are of low income that may not have their own transportation, things like that. So when people go to evacuate or decide who they need to evacuate, then they can identify those neighborhoods. Things like that to keep it real and keep it related to responding to a disaster. I mean, this fire is going to be, is the fastest growing and fastest moving fire, I think, in recent California history. They had that other one that was well to the north there around Napa that was moving really fast too. But today they're getting 60 to 70 mile-an-hour winds at ridgetop. So that's the kind of idea I'm thinking about. Okay. So I went back to the agenda here. So Maggie and Bob, if we can do our ORL examples within the ESIP community, that'll be good, and we can probably take maybe you could each probably take 10 minutes. We'll just say 10 minutes for each one of these so far. So Bob, did you have any other questions? You might have been on mute.
Which Bob? Hey.
Oh, sorry, Bob.
I mean, just add what the other Bob said. We can certainly look at a couple possibilities. We have. It's not at the one ORL one level yet, but we have a more detailed census-based set of services that were being developed. That can be mapped in a similar way. So.
Cool. Okay.
All
right. So I'm gonna put a little like.
Which gets a part of what you're asking for, because only those detailed census data sets have elderly housing variables. At the current level, we just have total pop, and we do have some age breakdowns that we can do for 2010, but they're not available through the pop estimation service yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all interesting. There's a little off topic, but through David Green, I'm going to be doing a presentation that FEMA's organized called Prep Talks, which get video recorded just a couple weeks later in January, and they're looking for similar kinds of examples. I'm supposed to focus on understanding the socioeconomic characteristics of population, but I think some of the case examples we develop may also be relevant. So
yeah, I mean, especially if you look at some of the recent fires, right? It'll make it even more relevant. And you can jump into the dashboard, or I can take some stills, or you can pull it up yourself or whatever, and use those for at least one example.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Maggie, was there anything else I should put up here for Earthquake Clearinghouse and Exchange Corps?
No, I think that's good. Just there's no E on my first name.
Oh, of course
yep, that's
not.
right.
That E's, they sneak in all over the place on my PowerPoint. So, okay, all right. If there's anything else that you're thinking that might add to this, to the interest of the, to get people to come to this breakout session, just let us know, and I'll put this agenda up on the Google Doc. I don't have that link for the Google Doc, at least readily available to me. It's somewhere. I have way too many bookmarks, like everybody else. Okay, so that sounds good. And then Ken, we were thinking about the idea that you suggested with tagging metadata, maybe what you're thinking about at UAH of going through data. Oh, Ken just sent the Google Doc. Thank you, sir. All right, so I'm
Yeah,
going to go.
what I think we want to try to do there is try to present some ideas and get that discussion going with this group in the session to think about ways of administrating or facilitating the tagging of data sets with these readiness levels for different communities. And so probably what I'd like to do then is, and that part of it is just present an idea or two just to get that discussion going. Not that it's anything set in stone or anything, just kind of spur that discussion with the idea of it's something that we could actually work through this cluster in ESIP to kind of help facilitate a prototype, perhaps, once we get to that point, where we think we know what we want to try to do there.
Okay. Does this look right on the screen? Discussion to spur idea of facilitating a prototype tagging approach? Or is that too much?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Hey, I had a question. The one thing that we kind of conflate in the ORLs is there's the data quality and availability, and then the ability of some service to be accessed and be reliable and deliver data in a trusted way. And so when you're talking about tagging metadata, you could either be talking about tagging the metadata for each data set itself, which is often, at the level of, just this data set exists and you can download it and stuff. But then there's the issue of metadata for services, which are handled a little different, and they're slightly different standards.
Right.
And I guess the question is, which are we focusing on, one or the other, or both? And if so, how would that carry over across, between data and services? Because the data can be trusted, but if the service isn't up, it may not be, fit one concept of the ORL. A service can be up, but the data coming through it can be lousy because the instrument's not working or something. That's a different piece of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and we need to, bring up those kind of discussion points during this exercise, I think. But yeah, that's good things to think about.
And I added to the agenda here on the screen, as you were talking, Bob, that ORL vetting process, I think Carrie's going to do this as well, but it might be one process for research and one process for operational use. And then I added in there your data quality and availability and adequate metadata for services type issues. Maybe Carrie can introduce that in the ORL vetting process, because these are all issues that came up, in our telecon for kind of putting meat on the bones for addressing research and operational ORLs, because they might be different. And that could probably, trickle through all of these presentations. So it's probably good to identify it up front. And it should definitely open up the doors for lots of discussion for issues just like that. So if you're having services and these data sets are being offered via services, what makes it an ORL 1 versus an ORL 2? If they're both operational, maybe one of them's timeliness, maybe one is timely, but you don't know what the data is you're looking at because you don't have any metadata. These are all excellent points, and ones that we want to integrate into the ORL levels, but they need to be integrated in such a way where they're easily understood by people who don't know a whole lot about data. Particularly in the operational environment. Ultimately, those folks that use it operationally are just going to look at the number. Is this a 1 or a 2 or a 3? You know, we trust it because it's got an ORL number, but you know, if it's an ORL 3, I won't expect it to be data within the last hour or 6 hours. It's just kind of evolving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we want to be responsive to the user needs for distinguishing levels and so forth, but I think we have to be clear what, you know, what pieces of the chain we're looking at.
Right. All right, so this will be a good, you know, 10-minute discussion on tagging metadata with ORLs from Ken. And you know, Ken, it might be, you know, a 3-minute or 4-minute you know, presentation from you, and then you open up the floor to people to get feedback, you know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think logistically, Dave, it looks like with all these topics to get all this in, I mean, we're probably only looking at 10, 15 minutes at most across these to be able to have discussion at the end, right?
Oh yeah, no, I think 10 minutes. We only have 90 minutes.
Right.
And so we probably, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys like an approach where you see all the presentations and then you have discussion, or do you like discussion right after each presentation? And then you just limit the discussion to, you know, maybe like 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Well, it can get messy when there's discussion after each presentation, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't, you can just make sure you get through all the presentations and then talk. So maybe that's what we'll do. So I'll just do a presentations, then discussion.
Yeah, the other thing is you don't want to make people sit through, you know, whatever, 60 minutes of straight presentation, and
that's true, yeah.
People run late. So, I mean, a compromise might be to do it in 2 blocks or something. I don't know.
Okay.
It could do the first 3 and then have some discussion, and then the next 3. I don't know.
Okay.
But I hate it when, you know, you get 60 minutes of just solid presentation, no questions, and then of course people run late, and by the time you get to the end, there's only 5 minutes for discussion.
I know. I got it. 2, 3. All right, so we'll do that like after, you know, 3. I just stuck them in there, questions and discussion after each one of the groups of 3. This is all, you know, draft. Obviously, I'll cut this out when I'm done and put it in the Google Doc that Ken sent. So, all right, this sounds good. I think we also need to, you know, at the end, you know, I'll just put a question with use case examples, but then discussion and wrap up of next steps for trusted data within ESIP. Where do we expect this to go? And, you know, because we want to have some sort of concrete focus and pathway, because if the folks from FEMA are in the room, you know, they always have the option of saying, we really like this, we want to help support this. You know, maybe they want to add other FEMA data in to have us evaluated as a trusted data source or something. Then, you know, we obviously want to show them that we have a focus and that we're a good group to work with. I'm looking at some of Karen's notes here. Yeah. Okay. I think, you know, this breakout session combined with the ones that will follow which will be from the All Hazards Consortium, will really, this will really kick off a great discussion for the ORL discussion within the All Hazards folks. Based on the conversations we've had in previous telecons, is there any other thought out there for things that we should add into this agenda? Is there anything that we've discussed before that we should show? Should we try to show any live data anywhere? Should we pull up one of the dashboards? What do you think?
This is Stephen Fleeting. I've shown, I guess, in the past a little bit about Worldview that shows some data. I mean, it's not integrated with the GeoCollaborate, so I don't know if you want to go there, but it's real-time data. You get it 3 hours after the satellite flies over, and the fires in LA show up well. The lack of electric lights over Puerto Rico show up. So Worldview is the tool, and the data sets are out of the DAX. So,
to me, I think using any tool to bring up data is good, because it makes people aware of that data, because the next step can be, well, is that data available as a service that could be brought into a dashboard environment? And if it's not, maybe we can make it, or request or talk with those data set providers and see if they can set up services, because any of the geospatial tools out there are good to display and access, various data sets. So, I love visuals. So, as much as possible, if we can, use anything to pull up some data sets, I think it would be great, because some people might be sitting in there thinking, oh, there's a lot of talk about ORLs, but what does that mean visually? I mean, we do have the PowerPoint that we'll be showing, but I like the idea of bringing up data examples.
Okay. I can do that if you like. Sure.
Okay. All right. Data sets. Oops. Close that. Samples.
And it's AN, STEPHANKLENE.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. You get backseat keyboarding here.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's my fingers like E's for some reason. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, and this is looking pretty, pretty packed, which is great. I think if we target, let me see here, target 10 minutes each. That's 10, 20. And 30, 40, 50. No. Each one of these will be 10. So Maggie. So 60. I think, yeah, right now we have enough time. We have enough time. That's going to be a presentation. That'll be one. Oh, there's only two there. Okay. Then that's one. ORL examples in the community. So so Maggie will be there. Bob will be here. All right. Oops. Bob disappeared. Each one of these are 10. Okay. Any other thoughts for what we might want to pull in here? What we've talked about in the past? You know, we've had a very active hurricane season. We've had an incredibly active fire season. You know, with lots of damage and destruction in California, and still ongoing. Is there anything that anybody can think of that would be relevant to, you know, this, as whether it's use cases or topics? Think this looks good for an agenda?
So Dave, I think you mentioned this earlier, that we do need to be sure that everyone knows that the 3DM group is going to be having meetings all day long on that Thursday. And there'll probably be a lot of good discussion and end user type things that come out of that might be of interest to everyone to sit in on.
You know, I haven't seen an announcement for any of that. Can someone circulate that information? Is it separate from the Federation meeting? I mean, the Federation's way out in Bethesda. Is it in the same hotel, or?
No, in fact, it's in one of the breakout room. Well, the same breakout room that we're going to have this session in.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Aaron carved out, Bob, a portion of the Federation meeting to have the data-driven decision-making stuff combined. You know, so people have that as an option to go to, and it looks like there's interest from other agencies like FEMA in attending that, and then maybe getting a taste of the Federation.
Okay, great.
Yeah. No, it's really, Aaron. I think Aaron and Tom Moran have been working on that pretty carefully to make sure that, you know, it's not distracting, that it fits in, and then you know, some senior FEMA officials can see just the benefits that the ESIP Federation is bringing to decision making. Okay. Well, it looks like we've accomplished our goal of drafting out an agenda, which I will take here, and you know, I'm just going to copy this and pull it up into this wiki. Now, were these notes? Were you taking these, Ken?
I've done some there, yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go down here at the bottom, and I'm going to see how it handles the paste.
Not well.
Which is not good. That's all right. I'll go in here and change that to that, and change this to this, and change that to that. Well, that kind of works. Okay. precedes. Okay, so that's just something to at least reflect that we have identified you know, we've identified what we want to do here. Okay. All right. Well, I think this is great. I mean, it's always good to have a working telecom where we're trying to put together what we want to do, and it looks like Ken above here put in a description of what Maggie's or Karen's email identified. So this is great. Some of us will not be at the winter meeting. I know Maggie won't be able to make it, but she'll be joining remotely. I am still nailing down my responsibilities at AMS with regard to the Weather Ready Nation Symposium to see what my duties are going to be on Thursday. Ken, do you know where this falls in the big scheme of things as far as the Federation meeting goes? Is this like a 9 a.m. meeting? Is it a 10 a.m. breakout? Do you have any idea?
This session is the first one of the day on Thursday, and then the rest of the day in that same room is the 3 p.m. breakouts.
Okay, all right. So we might be talking like an 8:30 a.m. session.
Yes,
9.
whatever it is.
Yeah, it lists it as 9 online on the ESIP calendar. Currently, what it's said, it's 9 to 10:30.
Okay.
And then a break from 10:30 till 11 before the next session starts.
Oh, good. All right. Well, that gives me an opportunity to probably make this because it'll be 8 in Austin. Great. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you know, if nobody has anything else, we can probably sign off a little bit early, but I do want to give everybody a chance to say anything else that they'd like to say. Bring up any ideas, any new data sets that you might know about. Maggie, I did want to let you know that Raphael and I attended a meeting with the Maryland Emergency Management Agency a couple weeks ago, and Jim Morantz was there from Exchange Corps and Sabre.
Oh, okay.
So we had a really good discussion with him during one of the breaks about you know, accessing a lot of the Exchange Corps data and making sure that it can be you know, accessed through the dashboard or GeoCollaborate you know, collaboration sessions and stuff like that. So I think we're you know, Raphael and his team are working on that at Storm Center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So that might give you more ammunition too to bring the dashboard into the environment of California and saying, hey, look, you know, this is all about leveraging all of the work that's been done in this area just to get it out and shared in real time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think all of our, you know, arrows are pointed in the same direction, and I think they're all sort of, you know, coming together to make a really thick arrow to show people, you know, that hey, it's really all about putting the data to work as smooth and efficiently as we can.
Mm-hmm.
About none of the fires are close to you this time, are they, Maggie?
No, not really. Not yet.
You don't have much more ground to burn, I don't think, huh?
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything, then we can call it a meeting. and I'll get the PowerPoint distributed to everybody, and I'm going to keep this document up to edit just a little bit. But I think that's it. Look at that, 4 minutes early.
Great.
Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for being on the call, and just send me an email or whatever if you have any questions, and we'll get Karen updated on everything.